friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mrs. Lynch. This is my last YouTube video of the year. Wow, it's crazy. Today we're going to be going through Wednesday/Thursday's lesson, which is about subtracting positive and negative integers. In today's video, we're going to talk about that additive inverse skill builder on page 18. We're going to do a few problems from practice rounds 1 and 2. You'll see what I mean in a second. We're going to talk about those subtraction rules, and we're going to do the examples on page 20. Then we're going to talk about when our value is increasing versus when it is decreasing. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get started by going through our additive inverse here. So what is the additive inverse? Well, it is a value that when added to a second value will always result in a sum of 0. It's a lot of words. So an example here would be the additive inverse of 24 is negative 24 because 24 plus negative 24 equals 0, right? The additive inverse of negative 6 is 6 because negative 6 plus 6 equals 0. Wait, right? We've seen this. Negative 6 and 6 are what we call opposites, right? They're the same distance from 0, but on different sides. So when I add a number to its opposite, we're always going to get 0. So let's try a few here. We have the integer negative 9. The additive inverse of negative 9 is 9, aka the opposite. And I can prove that here because negative 9 plus 9 equals 0. I'll show you on my number line. If I start at negative 9, I add positive 9, which means I'm going to be moving up. I land at 0. Awesome. Let's look at b here. So b, we have the integer 12. The additive inverse of 12 is negative 12. And I know this is true because 12 plus negative 12 is equal to 0. Again, I'll prove this on my number line here. I'm going to start at positive 12, and I'm going to move down 12 because when I add negative 12, right, I have to move down the number line. 12 plus negative 12 gives me 0. If you want to pause this video and do C and D on your own. Welcome back. So let's go through these opposites here. Like we just said, the opposite of a number is the number on the other side of 0. So the opposite of negative 9 is going to be 9. Go ahead and try the rest. And you were right. The opposite of 32 is negative 32, and the opposite of 12 is negative 12. Now I have a special treat for you. I'm going to go through practice rounds 1 and 2. Enjoy.
In this video, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the math counters that I'm talking about in practice rounds 1 and 2. I'm not going to do the exact problems that are in your packet. I felt like that would defeat the purpose a little bit. So let's jump right into it with a classic subtraction problem. We'll do positive 6 minus positive 3. And I'm going to show this with my counters. This yellow side means positive. So this means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. So this is positive 6. And I'm going to subtract positive 3. When I'm talking about subtraction, I'm talking about removing these counters. So we'll move 1, 2, 3. We're left with positive 3. Therefore, 6 minus 3 is 3. Yay. So if you didn't know the answer to that, we should talk offline about that. Trying another one here. We'll go ahead and do negative 7 minus negative 2. So I'm going to show my negative side with red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have negative 7, and I want to subtract negative 2, meaning I'm going to remove 2 negatives. When I do that, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Therefore, negative 7 minus negative 2 is equal to negative 5. Awesome. Let's try maybe a not so classic subtraction problem. Let's do positive 4 minus positive 6. So I'll bring back my yellow side here. That means positive. And as I can see, I have positive 4. Now, when I do this, I see that I don't have enough counters to subtract 6 positives. I can't remove 6 here. So we're going to need those negatives to help us out. We're going to bring in what we're going to call 0 pairs. And what a 0 pair is made of is a positive 1 and a negative 1. Because remember, a number plus its opposite is equal to 0. and 1 and negative 1 are opposites. It's that additive inverse rule, so 1 plus negative 1 equals 0. Therefore, if I add this, it's not going to change our value because this is a 0 here. I still have positive 4, but I have the ability to potentially remove more yellows here. So I have 4 plus 1 0 pair. Let's add in another 0 pair so I can get 6 yellow counters here. Awesome. So we're going to do 4 minus 6, so I'm going to remove 6 positive. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I do that, I see that I'm left with negative 2. Therefore, 4 minus 6 is equal to negative 2. Awesome. Let's try one more. We're going to go ahead and do negative 5 minus positive 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of us might be thinking, okay, she's just going to take away the 3. Well, if I remove these 3 counters, that would be removing negative 3. That's not the same value. When I remove positive 3, I need to be removing the yellow side. So I need those 0 pairs to help me. So here's a 0 pair. We'll add another one here. And yes, at school I couldn't find enough, so I made my own creativity. We'll add one more. So I've added in 3 0 pairs. My value has not changed. I still only have negative 5, but I now have the ability to remove or subtract positive 3. And when I do that here, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Therefore, negative 5 minus 3 is equal to negative 8. Yay.
I hope you enjoyed that video. At this time, I'd like you to pause the video, try rounds 1 and 2 on your own, and then go through that example page on the next page. Pause. I don't see you pausing it, but you should pause it. Welcome back. So, you're probably thinking at this point, wait, what about subtraction? Well, subtracting a positive number is the same thing as adding a negative. Both will make our value decrease, therefore we move to the left or down on our number line. Subtracting a value changes the starting value in the same way that adding a negative changes the starting value. So example here, 10 minus 8 is equal to 2, and so is 10 plus negative 8. That's also equal to 2, right? When I subtract that positive number, it's the same thing as adding its opposite there, negative 8. So I'll show you on the number line. If I start at positive 10 and I move to the left 8, I end up at positive 2. And similarly, let's say I'm going to show you 10 and then adding negative 8. I know when I add a negative integer, I move to the left. I'm at the same answer. So let's go ahead and talk about our good friend subtraction. So when we are solving problems that involve the subtraction of positive and negative values, we're going to rewrite the subtraction expression as an addition expression. And the reason that this works is, remember that subtracting a positive number is the same thing as adding a negative. We saw that with the counters, and I know that when I subtract a positive number and when I add a negative number, right, they're both going to make my value decrease, therefore I'm either moving to the left on my number line or down. So to do this, how we change a subtraction expression to addition is we're going to follow 3 simple rules. We're going to keep the starting value the same. We're going to change that subtraction operation sign to addition, and we're going to change the second value to its opposite. We're going to call it KCO. We're going to call it keep, change, opposite. Keep the first sign the same, change subtraction to addition, and opposite the second number. Once you change the expression into an addition expression, you can solve using those rules for adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers that we started yesterday, right? So if I add a positive and a negative number, I have to technically subtract. Crazy, what? So at the top of the next page, you see a thing that says, okay, let's review. I want you to pause this video and fill in the blanks. You can do it. Welcome back, my friends. Going through this, remember that subtracting a positive is the same thing as adding a negative. When we add integers that have the same sign, meaning I'm adding two positives or two negatives, we add like normal, and the sign of our answer stays the same. And when we add integers that have different signs, meaning I'm adding a positive plus a negative, we subtract, and then we're going to keep the sign of the number with the bigger absolute value. Those addition rules are going to come in handy today. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and go through our first example here. So we have positive 5 minus positive 9. And I know that this is subtraction, so I need to rewrite this as addition, which means I'm going to keep that first value the same. We're going to change that subtraction sign to an addition sign, and we're going to use the opposite of the second value. So we'll start with keep. The first value is going to stay the same. Positive 5 will remain positive 5. Now we're going to change. That subtraction sign is going to magically become addition. Okay, so change subtraction to addition. Now because I'm magically changing subtraction to its opposite, addition, I also have to change that second value to its opposite as well. So our second value here is positive 9. It's important, my friends, that we see that this is 9, not negative 9. That is just a subtraction operation sign. If this was already negative 9, it would be inside of parentheses. So we're going to use the opposite of 9, which is negative 9. So my new addition expression is 5 plus negative 9. So now we're going to solve our addition expression using those rules of addition. And I'm adding a positive and a negative, so we need to, you said subtract, you were correct. And our answer will be, yep, negative, right? Because we're going to keep the sign of the integer with the larger absolute value. So we'll do the absolute value of negative 9 minus the absolute value of 5, which gives us an answer of negative 4. Awesome work, my friend. Let's go through a couple more examples on page 20. So we have the subtraction expression negative 7 minus negative 6. So we're going to rewrite this as an addition expression, which means we're going to use keep, change, opposite. So we're going to keep that first value the same. Negative 7 is going to stay negative 7. We're going to change that subtraction sign to addition. So that subtraction becomes a plus sign. Then we're going to opposite our second number. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So now my new addition expression is negative 7 plus positive 6. When I'm adding a positive and a negative, I know I technically need to subtract. So we'll do the absolute value of negative 7 minus the absolute value of 6, which gives an answer of negative 1. Awesome. Looking at number 2 here, we have 5 minus negative 3, and I have a subtraction expression, so I'm going to rewrite it as addition. So to do that, remember we're going to keep that first value the same. 5 is going to stay positive 5. We're going to change that subtraction sign to addition. So the subtraction sign becomes a plus sign, so I have 5 plus. Then we're going to use the opposite of our second number. The opposite of negative 3 is, you guessed it, positive 3. So now our new addition expression is 5 plus 3. That's why I thought I was just subtracting a negative. We're going to talk about that in a second. I know I'm adding two positives, so I just add like normal. 5 plus 3 gives an answer of 8. Awesome work, my friends. Stay tuned for a great table talking about why subtracting a negative makes our value increase. This table that I'm going to go through is on page 22, so you can either pause this video and do round 3, or you can listen to this and then do round 3. It is up to you. Those are just the last problems that I was going to demonstrate for today. So we're talking about happiness and relating it to our values increasing or decreasing. So we have a situation, right? I know that when I add a positive number, my value increases, right? We move up on the number line. Well, when I add a positive to my life, my happiness increases as well. We all know how much I love headbands and scrunchies. And whenever I get a new headband or a scrunchie, I get happier, right? My happiness increases. If I had a happiness meter, it would be moving up. And again, it's the same thing with integers. If I do 6 plus 4, I'm going to move up on the negative line. We get a bigger value, an answer of 10. Now, when I subtract a positive number, my happiness decreases, and that's the same with my numeric value. So something that makes me really happy are you all, my students, right? And teaching. Well, that was recently taken out of my life. So yeah, my happiness has decreased. It's gone down. And that's the same thing that happens when we subtract a positive number. If you remove something positive, okay, the value is going to decrease. So 6 minus 4, our answer is a smaller number, 2. We're moving down that number line. Then when we add a negative, numerically we know that that's going to make our value decrease. Well, it would also make my happiness decrease, right? I think you all know how much I don't like eating salad. And every time I eat salad, I pretend that it's chips. But when I'm forced to eat a salad, my happiness decreases. I can't taste anything. Right? I'm not happy eating the salad. My happiness is decreasing. Okay, so whenever I add something negative to my life, add something that I don't like doing, I'm not as happy, right? That happiness meter is going down, and that's the same thing with integers. If you add a negative number, okay, you're going to move down that number line. You're going to decrease in value. And lastly, we'll talk about subtracting a negative here. So when I subtract a negative, our value increases, right? And that's the same thing with my happiness. If I take something that makes me sad out of my life, my happiness is going to increase. So something that makes me pretty upset and sad is driving. I don't like driving. If I took driving out of my life, my happiness would greatly increase, right? If I took something away from myself that I don't like doing, I'm going to be happier because I don't have to do it anymore. So subtracting something negative makes my happiness increase, and that's the same thing with integers. If you subtract a negative number, it's going to increase in value. So 6 minus negative 4 is actually positive 10. Crazy.
All right, my friends, that is it for me for the year. I've loved being your math teacher this year. If you have any questions about subtracting integers or anything else, please reach out, let me know. Hop on Zoom hours. If you're a little confused, again, there's plenty of resources to help you, but don't worry. You're in great hands next year with your amazing 7th grade teachers, Miss Lewis and Miss Douglas. You're going to love them. I'm so excited and I'm so proud of you all. I love you so much. Talk soon.